Hey, what's happening, everyone? I appreciate you being here, stopping on in this morning. At least for me, it's the morning. Maybe for you, it's the afternoon, later of the evening, perhaps even in the middle of the night. You're sitting up watching YouTube, scrolling through your feed, eating a bowl of ice cream or what have you. And you're just enjoying a little time to yourself, regardless of how you've gotten here. I appreciate you stopping on in. As today we dive into a little Eric Clapton. We're going to be checking out this track, the title track off of the album Pilgrim, which was released in 1998. This will be his 13th studio album. We are checking this out as this was suggested. This was sponsored by Will. So Will, thank you so much for sending over the request. I appreciate that. We haven't really listened to a lot from Eric Clapton, so this would be kind of a fresh start into his solo material. I'm just really quickly checking to see if anyone else has suggested this particular track or the album. I do see that it looks like it had been recommended also by Dan Teen as well. So thank you also. So let's go ahead and dive on in. We'll, of course, give the music a listen. The album cover is giving like very, I guess, 98. I would have thought like late 80s with the album cover. It has that kind of look to it. But let's see what's in store and let's see what's inside. Already not the sound I would think with Eric Clapton. Almost like a trip hop kind of sound. Huh. I'd almost expect Beth Gibbons to start singing.
What does it mean to know all these things when love's been wasted all these years? When love's been wasted all these years.
Nice change.
Standing in the shadows with my heart right in my hand, removed from all the people never understand. I was a pilgrim for your love, a pilgrim for your love.
You'll journey across any ocean for that love.
A pilgrim for your love. I was a pilgrim for your love. It's like living in a nightmare. In the blackest hole, like standing on the edge of nothing.
A lot of echo and reverb on some of the guitar in the back, besides that main riff.
Out of control.
Just a little swirling around.
Now where have I been all these years? And how come I just couldn't see? Like a blind man walking around in darkness. I was a pilgrim for your love. I was a pilgrim for your love. Standing in the shadows with my heart right in my hand, removed from all the people who could never understand.
That's very 90s R&B. Now that I'm listening to it, now that I'm hearing like the drums.
With my heart right in my hand, from all the people who could never understand. I was a pilgrim for your love.
That's very, very much so.
Pilgrim for your love. I was a pilgrim for your love. A pilgrim for your love. I was a pilgrim for your love. A pilgrim for your love. I was a pilgrim.
That was a cool way of kind of bringing up that all the guitars and the orchestration there. Very cool. Turn it there.
Pilgrim for your love. I was a pilgrim. Pilgrim for your love.
Very surprising track in the sense of this is not the sound that I was expecting from Eric Clapton. This is definitely not the genre kind of twist and the direction that I kind of think about when I think of Clapton. This was very, very much steeped into that, late 90s kind of adult contemporary / R&B sound. Like, especially when it comes to the rhythm section, especially when it comes to the drums, the bass there, it's very, very 90s R&B. And I know because I was listening to a lot of it back then. That's partially and part of what I grew up on, probably more towards my mom's side of her music listening habits, like that kind of sound, and probably even into the early 2000s or so. So, like, very familiar with that sound. It was just really weird to kind of hear that sound with Eric Clapton. But there's still bits and pieces of him that come through in a really cool way, even emerging into this different sound. And I really like that guitar riff in the back, the brah, brah, brah. Like, it has a kind of seagull screeching for a French fry kind of sound. It sounds weird when I put it like that, but the little bit of screech that it adds there, I really like that. And he just uses that as kind of the foundational riff to kind of carry the song, along with, of course, the drums and everything else, and especially the background harmonies and the voices that are providing a lot of that deeper melody. But I just really like that riff. And then in the second verse especially, there's a lot of kind of ambient work that's happening back there from Clapton on the guitar. A lot of sounds and melodies that are very much steeped in a lot of echo and such. And they just kind of create this, kind of like the album cover, like reflections on the water. They create this kind of shimmering, near psychedelic kind of sound that's very, very melodic instead of being maybe something more pointed, rigid, and abstract. So it's really cool how that kind of floats around in the ether beneath the track. And then, of course, you have that foundation of the brah, 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 and everything else on top of it there. And Clapton's singing. He's singing in a very, very, like, emotional, introspective, close to the microphone so they can hear every aspect of his voice kind of way in this particular track. And if I'm being honest, his singing, I think, is completely fine in this track. I didn't care for it. I didn't feel anything for it, neither necessarily good nor necessarily bad. It was just kind of there. So it really didn't stand out to me vocally. It was just kind of, okay, he's very gently singing into the microphone. And like I said, I haven't heard enough from Clapton to really speak on anything else. I'm not. But this kind of sound from him in this particular song and from the band reminds me of something Sting would do, like in his some solo work. But I feel like Sting has just at least I'm just comparing one song here. Sting would pull this off in a different and, dare I say, better way. more convincing. So that's just me. That's just where my mind goes, and with this. But yeah, like I said, his vocals are neither here nor there. They're just, I guess they are there. But I do see that you have the backing vocals performed by China Wine, which its name is really cool, how it's spelled here. And the organ from Paul Carrack. Okay, really like the little subtle way that organ comes in and shifts through in some of the parts of the song. That's really nice. Simon Climie, interestingly enough, is credited with synth bass, drum machine, and backing vocals. However, very interesting enough, it says maybe. So I suppose that is up in the air. And the strings by the London Session Orchestra with Nick Ingman handling the actual arrangement of that. I really like that moment at the break where the guitar from Clapton, along with the orchestra, kind of rose in this near cacophonic, would that be the word? Cacophonic kind of way, where it sounds like there's just this rushing, and then they explode into the melody as they come back together. That was a really cool moment in the track. Let me see if I can find that really quick.
Pilgrim.
It's here, right here. See, it blooms there at the end. And that's that Clapton picking that. That sound is very, very much in that smooth jazz kind of way as well. Really, really cool track. And like I said, I think that it's a very pleasant listen. His voice, fine. But otherwise, I think that this is a nice listen of a song. Very calming and relaxing. I don't know why, but looking at the album cover, it made me think like this was going to be a guitar, Yngwie Malmsteen, like just hard rock kind of track. But no, it's much more subtle, of course, than that. And how do I choose and where do I draw the line between truth and necessary pain? And how do I know and where do I get my belief that things will be all right again? How do I know that things are going to come back together and we're going to be all right? What words do I use to try and explain to those who've witnessed all my tears? And what does it mean to know all these things when love's been wasted all these years? Our love has been a waste all this time. How can we ever reconnect and bring it back together? Standing in the shadows with my heart right in my hand, removed from all the people who can never understand. I was a pilgrim for your love, a pilgrim for your love. Pilgrim, of course, traveling perhaps across an ocean or across a land, going from one place to another. And that's what he did for this person's love. It's like living in a nightmare, like looking in the blackest hole, like standing on the edge of nothing, completely out of control. Now where have I been all these years, and how come I just couldn't see? Like a blind man walking around in darkness. I was a pilgrim for your love. I know there's different levels of blindness, but a blind man walking in darkness, I mean, he could be walking in light. I can't imagine it would make a huge difference. So yeah, he's made all these sacrifices, he's saying, for this other person's love, and it just wasn't, it just didn't pan out. Let's look at some of the information for this particular track. It says it was written by Clapton and Climie. They also produced the song, which came out of a jam session between the two in the 90s. Let's see. It was released as the fourth and final single of the album, and was released as a B-side to another single, which was accompanied by a music video, and is part of the Lethal Weapon 4 soundtrack. Don't think I've seen that one. I don't think I've seen any Lethal Weapon to completion. I've seen parts of some of them, but I don't think I've ever actually seen a whole one. In 1998, Clapton talked about the composition and writing process on Pilgrim, a song like Inside of Me that was deliberately borrowed from Curtis Mayfield as a way for Clapton to say thanks for the inspiration. I was playing guitar and Simon was playing keyboards, and we just created an atmosphere, and instantly the words were coming into my head because the mood evoked all of the circumstances that had been happening for the past few years. Not judgmental, it states what had been happening in a very gentle, loving way. This was an actual event in my life where people were saying to me, look, you've got to get out of this. You've got to let go. You've got to move on. There was an endless, vicious circle of makeups, breakups, makeups, and it went on for years and it was going nowhere. It was very painful, but I was obsessed with the notion that it would come to fruition if I just stayed there long enough. I'm sure we've all been there, but this time for me, it was different. There's another one of those things where I can say that if I just stay there, it will come good, and it didn't. We used drum loops, turned to technology when we ran out of things to do and needed a place to start. We would say something like, have you heard the new Usher single? And from there, we just copy the drum program, dicker with it, and play along with it. That's how the song was born. So that very much explains why it has that that R&B kind of sound. Makes sense. We came up with the drum program that was derived from a hit. I can't remember which one. We changed a little and wrote the words. That's one way to put it together. And your chart information 17 in Italy there as well. Pleasant little track. Let me know what you guys thought down below in the comments. As always, I appreciate you being here and stopping on in. Will, thank you so much for sending in the request as well. I appreciate that. And I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Please come on back by again tomorrow, and I hope to see you then. Bye, guys.